My family is in the Milwaukee area. And 2009, I graduated from university. I went to South America for about a year, and I was traveling around there.
About a year, like a gap year.
Yes, essentially, before I was going to jump into the working world.
Nice.
And then when I did, I moved to Washington, D.C., and I promised myself that I would stay there for only about 3 years before I would go and try something else. And so 3 years came up, and I said, well, I haven't seen very much of Europe, and so I decided to come and spend another year just traveling around. And at the end of my trip, I ended up on the farm for 5 weeks because I wanted to learn how to make cheese, because I'm from Wisconsin, the dairy state, and I thought that would be a good skill to know.
So originally you were thinking about going back to Wisconsin?
Moving to Denver, actually.
I actually live in Denver for 2 years.
Okay, it's also a beautiful place. Yeah, I met Gaspar and we fell in love in those 5 weeks.
Nice.
But I said, you are a very nice man, but I'm going to go back to the United States and live my life. Except he convinced me to come back. And
so you actually went back for a while?
Yeah. I was back for almost a year. But it was very quickly after that that we decided that we would figure out how to make it work. But I have 2 stepdaughters, and there are 160 goats plus all of the other animals, and so they were not going to be moving. I was going to be the one moving.
Yeah. Wow, so it sounds like you do love travel, and then you have all the multiple gap year.
But we have a combination of goats and sheep, and it looks like they just got haircuts, so you'll have to guess which is which.
Oh!
Yeah, you can tell.
But the sheep live outside most of the year, and then it was quite mild until fairly recently, and so they only just came in. But they take up a lot of space. I mean, those sheep have not been shorn yet.
They're kind of isolated.
Yeah. They're actually 3 little babies.
Look, there's a black one and a white one.
Those are twins. There are 4. Actually, probably the majority of them are pregnant.
How many months does it take?
I think for a sheep it's, I want to say 5 months. The goats are very independent when it comes to giving birth. Every once in a while there's an issue that needs some intervention. The sheep, it can be a little bit more difficult. They can just struggle with it a little bit more, and they'll sometimes need a bit of additional help. Sometimes a sheep mother might reject its lamb, and then we use a goat as a nurse.
How long does it take for you to learn?
Well, so I don't actually work on the farm.
You're very knowledgeable.
I eat the cheese, and yes, I've picked up a few things along the way over time. But it's a fun environment to live in, to come and see all these animals and just be a part of this ecosystem.
So how do you like living in a farm, like for 9 years?
After living in cities, especially, it was a big change. There were a lot of things that changed in my life all at once. When I moved here,
Very brave, bold movement.
I say brave or stupid, I'm not sure which one.
After 9 years, what do you say?
I'm very happy to live here. I feel incredibly lucky because, well, you've seen the view of the place. It's magical. The rest of the valley is just incredible as well. We have easy access to cities like Colmar, but then also the mountains and the nature that comes with that. I'm able to work from home, and so I have all of my needs really covered quite easily. The hardest thing is being far away from my family and friends, but they love to come and visit too.
Definitely, like it's paradise for them.
Yeah.
For the 9 years after you moved here, do you still travel a lot?
Since I've moved here, we haven't taken a gap year, but plenty of traveling, especially seeing different parts of Europe. For our honeymoon, we went and spent a month in Indonesia. And I go to Switzerland a lot now for work. France, of course, there's so many places to see here. So yes, and then every couple of years we aim to get back to the US and spend about a month there, seeing my family for part of the time, and then also usually spending time in a different national park.
你有新狗狗朋友啦 ？Guinea pig.
Yeah, do you see it there?
Oh, see, pregnant. Look at the belly.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a little pony.
Ooh, pony.
One of the reasons we want to go to the world trip is also thinking about what life really is about and then what's the meaning of it. And then,
Deep question. I work in sustainability and environmental issues linked to racial justice. And so it's kind of the lens with which I see the world in terms of the progress that we still have to make and also the potential of making the world into something exceptionally beautiful. But we need to find our way through some of these really tricky problems that we're facing right now. The meaning of it for me is being able to contribute to that so that the next generation can hopefully live in a place that's even better than the one that we have.
so when you were traveling gap year, brave movement, because it's 1 year in a completely different country, how did you feel about it? Did you travel by yourself or with friends, with family?
I was traveling mostly by myself, but I was never alone for the most part because you meet new people along the way, especially at that time I was staying in hostels and every night
It's nice
you
to
meet a different crowd.
and especially when you work there, probably you meet people with common value, and it's easier to make friends.
Yes. Being able to jump into some really deep conversations with complete strangers just because you're experiencing similar things at the same time in different spaces. It's certainly shaped my understanding of other people. So I was mostly in Peru and in Ecuador, but I also was in Central America and I traveled all the way down to Argentina. I had taken a year after I graduated, and I also did some traveling at a certain point during my studies. I took a semester off to go and do that. But
People start to seek about a security. How do you feel about it, being taking a gap year after graduation and then work for 3 years and then quit the job and decide to travel again?
I think especially at that point in my life, I was fine with living with very little because I didn't have a car, I didn't have an apartment or a house or anything, I didn't have kids, there was nothing besides myself to really take care of, and I knew that I could take care of myself very cheaply. So once I had just the resources that I needed to be able to go and travel, that's what I did. It was a very logical conclusion for me to reach, probably in part because I had some examples of it already from my sister who had done some traveling in a similar way. I just couldn't picture myself directly jumping into a job, even though I knew that that was something that I also wanted to advance at some point.
Your parents and your sister both are really supportive, encourage you to take this step.
When I told my mom that I wanted to move to France, it was a bit of a different story. I think she was happy for me and also very sad for her.
Oh, too far away.
Exactly, but she's adapted well, I think, over time, especially because she has 2 built-in granddaughters.
So moving to France, it changed a lot, completely, probably multiple aspects of your life.
Within the first year, I learned French, started a new job, moved to a different country, learned how to drive stick shift, became a stepmother, got married, just figured out how to live my life on a farm and away from the resources of cities that I had been in before. And then of course doing that away from my own social circle, I needed to build up my own set of friends. Fortunately, I was adopted very quickly by Gaspard's friends as well, and so I felt like they were also mine. But it was really important to me to also be able to develop some of my own relationships outside of him. And so I did that quite actively too. I found a couple of friends through couchsurfing.
So did you host the couchsurfing when they come
Not
here?
even. I just used the website.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had done some couchsurfing myself in the past, but for making friends, it was a really nice way to kind of filter out people who were interested in meeting other people within a certain radius of myself. And so I just sent some messages to a handful of people and asked to meet up for a coffee, and we did. And one of them I'm still very close friends with, and her son is my godson. When you move to a different country, it comes with an entirely different set of cultural expectations.
We saw the 1,000 places you need to go, and it's a series, right?
What inspired you to read those books?
I think knowing that there was something bigger to life out there and wanting to understand the experiences of others to guide my own path and to see what else is possible. I think it's so important to kind of be constantly listening and open your mind to other possibilities than the way that you yourself live, even if we can all get into our own habits and have our own comforts. But I think being able to continually push yourself beyond, even if subtly, just beyond your usual boundaries, it's exceptionally important to me to be able to continue that growth throughout my life. And so those books, I think, are a lot of inspiration for that.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing we can learn is like you guys been together for like 10 years. What makes it like a happy marriage?
Oh boy, I think knowing that it's a never-ending process. There is always more to learn about one another, and you need to have continual growth. You need to be able to address the inevitable conflicts or problems that will come up and be able to put that in the past and then recognize the growth that you've had as a couple. And it's not always easy.
Acknowledging the conflict is inevitable is the first step. It is inevitable, and then grow, like you said, grow together. Is also important. How would you define like what makes it like a happy life as you guys grow together? How do you guys define it?
I think having a mutual understanding that we both come at life with our own perspectives, our own values, many of which are shared, but nonetheless there are some differences, and leaving space for each part of us that is different from the other to still live on and exist itself, I think is really important to us. And so, we do a lot of things together, but we don't necessarily do everything together, and that's perfectly okay with us.
Recognize each other as an individual, right? As a separate human being, and then have our own space. We have a shared experiences, but also we need to have trips, solo trips to find ourselves, to understand ourselves.
And I think it makes it so much more interesting too, right? Because then you have new ideas, new things to talk about. And even if, of course, you can get some of that from doing things together, it can also be even more valuable to go out and have those experiences yourself, and then be able to bring it back to your couple.
Okay, bye bye. 我们一开始进到这个房子，就会觉得这个房子充满了生活气息，它有非常多，不是说很昂貴，但是就很用心的一些裝飾，比如說像綠植，還有一些很有特色的一些裝飾品。那我們覺得其實就是不管房子大小，如果你心中有一個世界的話，其實你會讓這個環境非常的美好。而且他其實剛剛也說，他來到這個地方，其實完全是可能不認識其他人，然後來到了一個新的家庭、新的國家，是非常勇敢的人生。有一句話就是說這個世界勇敢的人先享受生活，其實他就是邁出來自己的一步，然後從自己原來很舒適的圈子裡到了不同的地方，到了不同的世界，然後感受到打開了這個新的人生體驗。那也許將來他可能還會做其他的計劃，但是每一段旅程，他在南美洲的旅程，他在整個歐洲的旅程，在亞洲的旅程，都會是他整個人生回憶裡面非常濃墨重彩的一筆。